Hello, lovely viewers. It's another awesome moment today on the Noble Show. You know, our guests on the show would either inspire, educate, or motivate you with their story. And the show is proudly brought to you by C. Ryan Travels and C. Ryan Car Rentals. My hair was styled by Lizzie Beauty Center, and also my beautiful attire was given to me by ABS Couture. Today, our guest on the show is Mrs. Philomina Obeng Donkor Frimpong. She is a critical care nurse, and I believe she's going to share a lot with us, and her interview today with us is going to be educative. Welcome to the Noble Show.
Thank you.
Tell us a bit about what you do as a critical care nurse, right?
Yes.
What do you do? What is it about?
Okay, so critical care nurses are highly skilled and knowledgeable nurses, specially trained to take care of patients or sick people with life-threatening conditions. By life-threatening conditions, we mean people who have fatal conditions, severe injuries that could likely end up in death. So we work in areas like the ICUs, the emergency settings, recovery settings, and then post-anesthetic care areas. Those are basically places that we work.
So what you often see most of your patients survive or most of them die?
Well, it's our desire that as we take care of them or as we nurse them, would have most of them survive. But of course, we have instances where we lose some of them. I mean, some of the cases are quite serious, they are quite severe, very critical, that you still try to put in your best and hope that they survive. But we lose some of them, as life will have it.
Yeah.
And we also get majority of them back.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what made you choose this career path?
Being a nurse. Well, growing up, we used to have a family friend who was an air hostess. Was named after my little sister was named after her. She was very close to the family. She was an air hostess. So the way my structure was, then she would say that, oh, my dad was a pastor. So he said that this your lady can do very well as an air hostess. So I really didn't know much about what they do. But I just loved saying that me, when I grow up, that's what I want to be. But growing up, then I saw health workers go about the way they go about their duties. Then I desired to be a health worker, a doctor, a nurse, a pharmacist. I really didn't have a particular one. But I had just set out that I was going to do very well to make sure that either I become a doctor, a nurse, a pharmacist, wherever it will lead me to. But eventually, I ended up in nursing, basically because when I was losing my mother, I happened to be by the bedside. And then I saw the way the nurses went about their duty. It inspired me a lot. And that developed a passion, the kind of passion in me. So that's how come I ended up in the nursing field and then specialized as a critical care specialist.
Has there been any instance or any moment where there's this particular patient that you wanted he or she to survive so bad that the person didn't make it? And how did you feel?
I think many of them. Many of them. Our setting is quite an interesting area, a bit stressful. It's an emotional area as well. But then you come and you see that everybody is trying their best. We do a lot of standing, running around, using gadgets, trying to make sure that patients survive. But I think I can't really pinpoint on a particular patient, but there have been several of them that you think you have done your best, they are doing well, and all of a sudden everything changed. And then you try to put in so much, but then you lose them. So I can't really say of a particular pair, but I think there are a lot of them. A lot of them that we wish they had survived.
Has there been any disease or sickness that you've come into encounter with that you realize that, what is this? I've never seen anything like this before. Or you've never seen something like that in any medical setting before?
Well, I think it's...
Do you get my question?
Yes. We learn about a lot of diseases. Some you learn in books, but as you enter the field and then you start practicing, you get to see a lot of them. I mean, they won't all come at a time, but you have them coming. And in the ICUs, of course, we see a lot of strange illnesses, critical ones, life-threatening ones, varying from patients who have had severe injuries, cancer patients who are recovering, a lot more of them. Patients with cardiac problems, patients with a lot, you can name them, a lot of them. So even if I haven't seen some, they come with time. And when they come, because you have the idea about how the condition is, you get exposed and then you get to know more about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And let me speak for Ghana.
Okay.
In a Ghanaian setting, like people have it that, oh, people usually say that most of the Ghanaians working in the government sector,
Okay.
Ghanaian nurses
Okay.
working in the government sector, they don't really treat patients well, or they don't give them all the time and attention that they need. Is that, how true is that?
So you are referring to like in the health sector?
Yes. In the government
In the
sector.
government sector. Well,
Because you work in the government sector.
yes.
So how true is that? Since you are a head nurse.
I think it's a perception. And we all build our perception based on our various encounters or our various experiences with people. There are many out there too who also go to these government settings and they meet very nice, friendly people who are nice to them. So that's what I'm saying, it's a perception. Depends on what you have been exposed to, your experience you have had, or the relationship you have had to develop with anyone who works in such a setting. So it's a perception that people have built over time. But I think it is not entirely so when you get to the ground. Of course, in every setting like that, you would have some people who would want to be, let me put it in quotes, deviant. Okay, they are there. But then, again, you still meet a lot of people who would give you good treatment and then service.
Okay. We're still talking to Mrs. Frimpong on the Noble Show. Don't go anywhere, stay tuned. Are you planning a trip? Or you're going for a holiday with a lot of destinations all over the world? Just decide on where you want to go, and see Ryan Travels will take you there. We offer UAE visa, air ticketing, tour packages, hotel reservations, corporate travels, and many more. You can contact Ryan Travels on 0264 623 091 or 0302 408067. You can email cryanTravels at c.ryantravels@gmail.com. Ryan Travels. You pack, we plan. Welcome back from the break. This is still the Noble Show, and we are talking to our health expert, Mrs. Frimpong. Mrs. Frimpong, let's talk about COVID. It's also a critical issue, right?
Yes.
Considering that your area of expertise.
Yes.
And are you part of the team that is working, or the frontliners working?
Yes, now yes. I work at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital that we all know, Ridge Hospital. It's the regional hospital, so that's where I work. But currently I'm with the COVID management team, taking care of COVID patients. I actually have been with the COVID team since we received our first patient to the COVID area.
So how is the whole setting like there? How is it like dealing with them, seeing what they go through? How is it like?
Well, I think there's enough information out there about COVID, and you see, the general public, it built a lot of fear and then tension amongst the public. And then just as it is, yes, it's like that. It's quite a critical
But
problem.
You never got scared working with them?
Well, getting into COVID wasn't ever planned. Of course, we all didn't know that there was going to be COVID, actually. So we didn't plan going into that area. But based on where I work, when we had just started training, we were just preparing ourselves, should in case we should get on the cases, then we are prepared. Just after our training, we received the case. And then we didn't even have enough time to make decisions. Even though we could opt out, yes. We didn't have enough time to make decisions as to whether we want to go and work in there or not, because it was just a few of us when we started. So Eventually, we ended up with COVID. Well, I wasn't afraid so much. I wasn't afraid because I'm a woman who don't really entertain a lot of fear. I'm a child of God, so anything I do, I try to put God first. So that aspect of fear is not a part of me. So that's how, but I ended up there and I've been working there. So there hasn't been
You're
anything
about
like
to
that.
receive an award or
Yeah.
an honorary, should I say?
Yes,
That means you put in a lot during the COVID times. You sacrificed a lot.
I did
How
my
did your
best.
family take it? Because you're married with kids.
Yeah.
How did they take it?
Well, my husband happened to have been caught up in a COVID area. He was in Italy then, the rest of my family here. So when I had to go in there, I spoke with him. He said, okay, I know you love your work so much, I can't stop you. Take care of yourself because I am also trapped here. So we're just praying for each other. He didn't have any problem with it. And I have a very supportive family. Like I said, I am also into family, relationship coaching and other things. And we have built a very strong family. My siblings, my children, we are very close. So we share a lot of things. So if others had problems with their family getting home and family members running away, I never experienced that. I never did. And I told them what I had to do. Everybody was trying to back me up in prayers, and I also advising them as to how they could take care of themselves so that they don't fall victims. So I had my family treating me very well. They would periodically call and encourage me, do your best, take care of yourself, we are praying for you. I think that helped me emotionally. It helped me because I go to work, I get stressed up, I see those patients and the kind of stress, the fear, the anxiety they go through as to whether they are going to make it or not. And then you get home and then there's a warm family member to receive you. It's quite heartwarming. So my family was okay. I think they've been supportive and they are still supporting.
Okay. Considering the fact that you've seen, let's say, let me just give it a name. You're working in a death trap zone.
Yeah.
What would be your advice to people out there with regards to their health?
Well, I think we shouldn't wait till we are sick before we go to the hospital. I read an article that a friend had posted on Facebook, and it was about how much he had spent on trying to maintain his car. The car wasn't broken down, but I think he decided that periodically, I just want to make sure that my car is in good state. And then he said he just looked at the money and then asked himself, how often do I even spend this amount of money on myself? Yet I have spent it on a vehicle. So then the question was, how much are we spending on ourselves? Do we have to wait till we are sick? So we should make sure that periodically we can go to the hospital and then check ourselves to make sure that everything is well. If we are able to spend money on a lot of things, luxury, we get the bags, we get everything for ourselves, then we should be able to spend some money on our health, even when we are not sick. Okay. Yeah, and then we should also try and then avoid trying to self-medicate ourselves, some money on our health, because it is good. In fact, you need to be healthy to get all the things you want to get in the world. If you have life and you have good health, I think it's quite a valuable thing that you have in your possession.
Okay.
Yeah.
Throughout this period that you've been working in that department or in that part of health, that sector of health, what is one common sickness that often comes to that place? Or what is one common sickness that or disease that people usually show up there with?
In the critical care setting,
Yes.
most of them are respiratory problems. Most of them are respiratory, as in conditions that has to do with our airway, how we breathe in and then breathe out. Say that's basically respiratory problems. So the most of the patients we get are that, and then most of them are others too are those who come with neurological problems, hemorrhagic CVAs, sudden collapses, and then people who are in shock. They are very common in the critical care settings.
But what do you think causes some of these things?
A lot of them. As for respiratory problems, it varies from infections, bacterial infection, you have viral infections. Others, we don't really know the cancers are there, we don't really know the cause. But others are also due to our habits somehow. And then something that might have come up when we really didn't know. Yeah. And then with the hemorrhagic CVAs, mostly had to do with people who are not really managing their hypertension very well. Those with high BPs who are not managing very well could also, it could result them into hemorrhagic CVAs. And then with shock, a lot of things can bring about shock. We have excessive dehydration, excessive bleeding can bring about shock, and then many more of that.
What is the most challenging thing about your career?
The most challenging thing is when a patient comes into your hand. There are times that you can really know that this patient don't have a high percentage of or chances of survival, and yet you have to do something to make sure that that patient is kept alive, because you remember that you are not the final decision maker. Miracles do exist. I believe in them so much. So anything could happen. You just have to put in your best. So when you get to those stages, you get broken, you are confused, you don't know what to do. But then you try to be focused and put to practice or put to bear what you know how to do best to make sure that that patient survives. Because remember, relatives are looking up to you. They don't really care whether the patient has a minimal chances of survival or not. They want their relative to survive. Nobody wants their close or their loved ones to leave them. So they look up to you, and you have to make sure that you are giving out your best. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk a bit about you. Just a little bit about you before we end the show. As a woman, who is a nurse, family woman, and all of that, what is the most challenging thing about being a woman?
The most challenging thing is trying to combine your career with managing your home. That is, if you really want to make a good home, then it becomes a challenge, unless, of course, you don't really care about it. It's all about your career. But if you want to maintain a balance, then you really have to make sure that you are putting in a lot. It's very challenging because my work is very stressful. I work anytime, morning, afternoon, evening, anytime. You know how health workers work, anytime. You can be off and you can be called at any time. And then you also have to keep an eye on your family. It's very challenging trying to combine that. And of course, I do a lot of things at church too, so trying to combine all that becomes very challenging. But in all that, God gives us strength.
Okay.
We put in our best.
As a relationship coach or career or
Relationship and family.
Okay. Relationship coach. I'll just ask one question on that. What is one common problem that you usually solve between couples or people who are dating?
Issues with trust.
Trust issues.
Trust issues. Issues with sex, finances. And at the family level, it mostly had to do with kids that are left out and are not being taken. The kids going wayward because nobody's actually keeping an eye on them.
How do you handle issues with trust?
I think we need to be quite open with each other when it comes to
you think we lack that a lot in relationship? I think so, though.
Yes, we do. It's either sometimes we are not sure of the reaction of the other person, so you don't know if you are giving out an information to the extent to which you can give it. But then you have to be open. If you must build a lasting relationship, it is based on trust. And communication is a very key part of it. You need to be open. You need to communicate very well, including your fears, your successes, your anxieties. It needs to be communicated so that you can help each other.
So when there's no trust, the relationship cannot grow?
When there's no trust, I don't see the relationship getting anywhere. I mean, you cohabit, you live together and don't trust each other. Everybody is trying to keep whatever they are thinking in their minds. You are not getting anywhere. You won't actually get anywhere.
How many kids do you have?
Well, that's a question I don't normally answer easily, and it is because I do take care of a lot of people I call my children. Okay. And then biologically, I have a kid. I have one. But most people don't know because I hardly talk about it. You see me with a lot of kids. I treat them like I treat my own. And I mean, I groom young women and all that. So People see a lot of kids around me. They are not sure how many kids are there. So I also don't talk about it. So you ask me and I tell you they are all my kids. If you're able to pick out who is mine, fine. If not.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
What will be your last words on the show to somebody watching the show?
I think to everybody out there, we must try to be the best we want to be. Don't try to be like someone. And then in all, try to be focused. Place God first in everything you do. I mean, I'm a Christian, so that's the way I'll go. Place God first, because that's what I do. We are still a piece of work in his hand, and he tries to mold us so that just like a clay in the potter's hand, he tries to make sure that it comes out perfect. So when we place God first in our decision making and in our actions, and then we put in some hard work, because it is not God without you doing anything, then we are sure that we will go a long way. I mean, until you are tired, you don't want to go anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for coming to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a great time here today with Mrs. Frimpong on the Noble Show, and she shared a lot with us today on the show. The show was proudly brought to you by Sea Rhine Travels and Sea Rhine Car Rentals. My attire was given to me by ABS Couture, and my hair was styled by Lizzie Beauty Center. Thank you so much for sticking and staying with us today on the Noble Show. See you sometime next week. My name is Dr. Gabriela. Bye-bye.
Thank you.